So we've got 4 trucks, 4 gooseneck trailers, 3 skid steers, tractor, disc, planter, 3 box blinds, 5 Millennium ladders, 10 or 12 people, and it's about to go down. We did phase 1 video on this. We laid the plan out, me and Lee and Bobby. We did the timber project. All the roads are in. All the bones are kind of here. So we just brought some massive manpower today, and we're going to try to hammer everything out in one day and implement the entire plan. And then the cool thing is the guy that is purchasing the farm off of us, who's going to actually be hunting it this year too, he's going to show up today. He lives in Kansas City, and he kind of bought this sight unseen from us and was all about the plan and all about letting us do it. So going to be a big transition going on here today.
This real estate market is just so crazy. When stuff comes up for sale and it goes through the brokerages and stuff, you know, a lot of it just, they already have so many buyers lined up that, you know, they make a few calls, send it a few times, and it's gone. We have a pre-market buyer list, and that gives you the ability to put your email in there, and we send upcoming farms and projects out.
A lot of the best farms never hit the market. You'll never know about those. So many of them are all bought and sold, the best ones without the public ever knowing. But you need to get on that list, because if you're not, you're gonna be missing out on some of the best deals, some of the best farms.
You got this steep drainage, which does 2 things. It kicks all these deer around the top side. You can see the trail cut right into the side of the bank here, and then there's a second one up high going out by the truck. So not only does drainage kick those deer out around the edge, but it takes your thermals, and as it cools, it takes the thermals and it pulls it right down in that deep gorge right there. So we're gonna have food, box blind for south, and in the north we're gonna be hunting this pinch point where the plot squeezes between this drop off, and this ought to be a killer rut spot here too when they get really moving. So we just started down here. Bobby's building that fence. We hung that stand. This treecoy's already in, that box is already up, and we're just working our way here. Just talked to Lee, he turned around to go get the brush mower so that we can mow down some of these standing beans so they don't clog the disc. So when he gets here, we'll start slicking this stuff off, let it dry out just a minute, and then these guys will get the disc running. So hopefully we'll have 2 green plots going in by the end of the day here. We're gonna hunt somewhere right here. So there's already 2 roads that come out of the timber right here. And I've had a camera running on here. Every big deer that I have on this farm, got pictures of, walks out of this road.
And I had the loggers make a straight road into the pond, so we're gonna put a fence in from there in. This is gonna be unbelievable.
That's the deer we found the shed from. And then this deer came through last night too.
That little hickory back there, there's a split. There's a wicked drop off behind it, and then that other washout we just
that one right there.
passed. I mean, you want to talk about a freaking bow hunting spot?
Yeah, that is an absolute.
It's already good, but when that fence goes in.
Yeah, because these bucks are already favoring this road for some reason because of that drop off, like you said. And you squeeze off that side of it and make them come through here. Because sometimes in the background I can see them squeezing out down there, out of that other road. But there's a lot of traffic here already.
That fence is going to make the greatest evening set and the greatest morning set of all time.
Agreed. Blue lines of fence. These deer are already using this road. But now with the fence there, they're really going to have to favor this around, and that deep drainage is right in here.
Good to see you, man.
Good.
All right. Bobby, how you doing, man? Good to meet you, sir. I appreciate you. Tanner already warned me. He said, well, you see, he said, all the guys that are working will be different from the talking heads. And they're talking about all the work we're going to go do. So,
I don't know who he's talking about.
Yeah. I said, well, I'm going to go hang out with those guys.
We have Tim here. He's going to be purchasing this farm off of us here next spring, but he's also going to go ahead and be hunting it this year. He did draw a tag for late season muzzleloader, so you know, all these setups that we're doing, he's going to actually be able to use these here pretty quick. So that's cool to have him here. He's only been on the farm just briefly one time a couple months ago. And, you know, we all kind of looked at the plan on Onyx and on paper, and we all talked about it. But like now it's cool to have everybody here like implementing all the brain power that we put on paper now is happening.
That late muzzleloader season, I explain it like it's like a second round of deer season when everybody's got the post deer season blues and you're sitting around Christmas like, I didn't shoot one, I missed one. Like you get to do Christmas and they come here and it's like laid back. It's like, okay, the fun and games is over. Now it's time to just go shoot one.
That's right.
and the phenomenon that happens is there's no pressure on your farm the whole season. And you
have all the food and you pile them all in there.
Yeah, and you can run feeders, and during the season when you're not hunting and hold even more deer in there and, you know, pull them an adequate time before you come hunt. There's just so much to the late season game. Plus you can bow hunt on it. So like this farm now, it's got some big fields that aren't super bow huntable, but you can bow hunt out late muzzleloader tag. So we got these big fields, and with these funnels we're creating and stuff, you could choose your weapon. And because this season is kind of when everything's wound down, it gives you the clarity and the mindset to focus on Illinois or focus on Missouri in the rut. If you have a piece in Kansas, focus on Kansas early muzzleloader, because it's a special season. The deer are very patternable. This is a special season. The deer are patternable. So it spreads your mental game out, you know, through the whole season. It's just, even if somebody only ends up with 10 acres, I mean, a place in Iowa should be on the vision board.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, I'd like to say I feel pretty privileged, you know. You don't, you know, have folks like, you know, hunting movie star, country music star. and a guy that, you know, I've trusted as my land broker for at least probably 20 years, or been around 20 to 25, and, you know, guided my dad for a lot of years before he passed away. You know, so number one, thanks for putting together the Whitetail Group and finding this farm. You guys see a lot of property, and you guys go in here and start putting it all together. I mean, how did you, you know, find this farm and say, you know what, this is the one?
So part of the appeal of this place when I looked at it first was the fact that it had such radical terrain in it, and that takes this farm and basically makes it really easy to hunt. Before we even touched it, all of these terrain features kind of painted the picture and laid the groundwork for the stuff that we're now doing now. Shapes of the plots, locations of the boxes, the pinch points, where the fences are going. It all just exaggerated what was already happening here. So when you can walk into a place like that and in the first 10 minutes you're going, wow, there's so many already natural pinch points here, like we could really do a lot with this. And then the fact that it had a decent amount of crop, it had some CRP on it, which means we can manipulate those areas like we want to. We got things lined up with the farmer, so he's working with us. We got 2-side access, so that gives us, that's pretty key on a farm. I mean, you don't have it on all farms, but that's a super important thing for morning hunting. Very close to town, so that's convenient for you if you decide you're going to build out here. There's utilities close by. Seems to be a very low pressure area. I mean, we ride all the back roads here when we're looking at stuff and try to see who's doing what and, you know, what might be available for lease or what might be coming for sale down the road. So I mean, you know, and then we're also thinking resale. You know, whether it's us or you or whoever buys it, whatever you do here and whatever you buy, it's got to be resellable, right? 49% hunting, 51% resale. That's kind of the way we and you and everybody should look at things. Is everybody buys something and they're like, oh, I'm never selling this farm. You're probably selling it. You probably are. I mean, this is what I do for a living, right? Mm-hmm. So I hear people
you
say,
want something bigger,
it's my favorite spot.
Something else will come up that's like 500 acres instead. Hey, you know, nobody will sell around here, and I want to get a little bit bigger piece.
Everything that you do here is not only for
always never off the table
strategy, but it's also for appeal and resale, and how the farm is going to function and make it more valuable. That's the goal, right? More valuable because it's going to hunt great. More valuable because you're going to enjoy it more. You know, more valuable because at the end, when you are going to sell it, you have us, all the history, everything that's been done, it's all documented. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's our thought process. That kind of makes it a good farm, in my opinion.
I think those bigger options. Food plots, too, you can bring somebody out and, you know, if you were thinking about ever selling it and maybe get something bigger, different, whatever, it's like you can go out there in late season, there's, you know, 200 deer in your food plot and $30 and stuff. Yeah, I used to always want to have so much timber on it. But now it's like, no, you really want fields, because you want to have a big destination fields. Like on every farm, I'll have something that's at least, 10 or 15, maybe even 20 acre, a big piece that you can pile a bunch of deer in their late season, like we're talking about. And most of our farms, all of our farms will have that, and you'll see that, especially when you hunt late season. You might have deer from 10 miles around, and we had all that food in here. It was even left last year too. And so all those deer that find that, and then they have their fawns, the fawns that were there and stuff, and they may get pushed off. But when it gets to late season, those fawns, now they're a year and a half this year, they remember where that is, and they come back and their fawns, it just starts growing exponentially, the deer numbers, and especially during that late season. That's why I think you have to have those big food plots for late season. You'll see so many new bucks and deer coming in. They know when they need food where they come to. But it just goes to show you what you'll be seeing late season as the years go by. There's more and more and more, and then you get a big one coming from, might be 5 miles away. Hey, this place is awesome. Look at all the food in here and does and everything in here. And then that's the one time you can relocate them, is late season. And then a lot of times they stick around in the spring, you got them, and bang, they're there all summer when they had never been there before.
And I get this all the time. What makes a good farm and a bad farm? It's kind of a weird answer to that, because, well, what constitutes a good farm? A good farm is one that's got giants on it. Well, you can have the ugliest farm, or the farm that's the hardest to set up in the world, and it can have giants on it. And it can be tricky to hunt. Or you can have the most perfect layout and it doesn't have the giants. There's a farm for everybody. This one is location. It had the bones to be a good farm. And then the deer pictures are the last part of the puzzle, and you don't always know that. Like, we can't sit here and tell you that. But as luck would have it, this farm.
Yeah, and it's Southern Iowa. You're gonna be able, there's gonna be giant. You just gotta get the age structure, and just seeing right away from right off the bat, like, you get pictures of deer even 4 and 5 years old. Those, if there was a lot of pressure by the neighbors, those would have all been dead a lot of times at 3 years old, when you have a really big one, so when you even see like 4 and 5 year old deer, there's not a lot of pressure. And that's what's nice about Iowa anyway. There isn't a lot of pressure, period. Let's just face it, it's not that populated of a state. It's not that populated in these areas that we're talking about. And very few non-residents get in, so it's not like outfitters and everything else are piling in every place. So it's way less pressure than anywhere else. And there's so many people, I was like, I wish they'd open Iowa up. It's like, no, trust me, you don't want that. It's like, just hunt other places and just keep putting in. And when you get drawn, you have, okay, I have a chance at a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, 5, they'll have a chance for a monster there. If you take away Iowa, really it's the last place that's, that you can go anywhere basically in the southern half for sure, and most throughout the whole state. But you can get a mature deer because it's not over pressured. And even if you have neighbors hunting, you set up like we're doing with the food in here, timber stand improvement work, you're gonna hold those deer. Once they get past 4 years old and 5, they live like on a 40. You have very rarely will I lose one on that. They get so tucked in that they hardly ever move.
And in my opinion, the number one thing before any work is done is just pressure, because they'll bed in those wide open hardwoods if there's no pressure, no problem.
Yeah.
But we're just enhancing, we're letting light in, we're just enhancing the thermal break back there in the cover and the sun, the sun.
By cutting the timber and
it's so much better when you cut it. I mean, they'll lay in that open stuff, but then a coyote goes through and it runs them out of there. A dog goes through, they runs them out of there. They're out. It just seems like keeps them on pins and needles more in there. I think when they're tucked in there good and they don't see too much, and you got all kinds of undergrowth and trees down and stuff for them to bed in, they don't see them, but they just stay a lot more comfortable in there.
We cut this primarily white oak. We cut this purposely after green up, because you'll see those tops that are on the ground, they've got all the leaves and they're brown, they shrivel, and they'll hold them for years. So you get instantly double bang for your buck as far as security goes when you do it.
And you can walk into your stands, it's like that, where they can't see you from 300 yards coming and run
that's
out of there.
One of those Jenga blocks in your whole strategy. It's the one stupid thing, is the one top that's got leaves on it that made the difference between him seeing you or not. I mean, it's just all the little things compounded, and that would be one example.
I like the layout of the farm. I just, again, feel privileged to be working with the guys at the Whitetail Group, and some of the biggest names in land and hunting, right? So,
well, let's take you on tour and show you some of this cool stuff.
This is the deal where, with as many deer are coming to this field in the late season, It'd be so hard to shoot one. Unless it was corn, you were mowing it and moving the box. It'd be so hard to shoot a deer with a bow on a big field like this.
Right.
But those fences, use your weapon. When we talk about woven wire fence and making funnels, this is kind of what we're talking about. It's a 49-inch woven wire fence. Keep it a foot off the ground. That lets the critters go under it and stuff. Maybe you get a doe or a little fawn go under there, but the one you're after is not going to do it. There's a stand at the end, set up for an east, straight south. Thermals will roll off into the hill. And then that side, you got a scent-free blind. Got the tall grasses, we're putting it low so you can get out the back.
Lee's about to do his favorite thing in the world, shred stuff with his equipment.
I did find a nice set of sheds in here when I was in here. 170-inch set. He had kickers off both sides.
Wow.
And that was right over here.
I got to tell you, man, I'm excited to get in here and get after it. I probably wouldn't have been able to see this for myself, but now that I see them talk about it and how they're cutting that timber and letting this thicken up in here, but I think the main thing I heard them talk about was time of year that they cut the trees, it still left them leaves on. And that's really creating a lot of that natural bedding right off the bat, even though it's going to grow up and get thick in here. And I just think having this back in here like this, where you can't really see from ridge to ridge in either direction, I think that's going to be one of the key things. You know, I love to hunt. I've hunted a lot of deer. I've got my 11-year-old daughter and my wife now, and I really want to get them, you know, to see why I love hunting so much, but for them to be able to walk in and, you know, something like this and start seeing the deer that this is going to grow or produce, it's going to be like something, I mean, they'll be seeing stuff that people that have hunted 30 and 40 years have never seen. The way that, you know, you guys are taking all of this and putting it together, you know, from the interior of the woods, how we're doing stand placement, the fences, the food plots, the blind placement, the green, and then come into grain. I just feel like the chances of it happening here, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen on this farm.
Once you build this stuff, like, there'll be deer today that will come in here and walk around the end of the fence. Like, they'll do it instantly.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. One, they're very curious about what's going on. They hear all this, you know what I mean? But, like, I guarantee we could put cameras on the ends of these things, and within days, there's deer just wrapping around the end of them.